Chapters 1 through 8 of the book of Isaiah, from the Young's Literal Translation of the Bible. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mark Penfold. Chapters 1 through 8 of the book of Isaiah, from the Young's Literal Translation. Chapter 1. The visions of Isaiah, son of Amoz, that he hath seen concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Jehovah hath spoken. Sons I have nourished and brought up, and they transgressed against me. An ox hath known its owner, and an ass the crib of its master. Israel hath not known, my people hath not understood. Ah, sinning nation, a people heavy with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, sons, corrupters. They have forsaken Jehovah, they have despised the Holy One of Israel, they have gone away backward. Wherefore are ye stricken any more? Ye do add apostasy, every head is become diseased, and every heart is sick. From the sole of the foot unto the head there is no soundness in it, wound and bruise and fresh smiting. They have not been closed nor bound, nor have they softened with ointment. Your land is a desolation, your cities burnt with fire, your ground before you strangers are consuming it, and a desolation as overthrown by strangers. And left hath been the daughter of Zion, as a booth in a vineyard, as a lodge in a place of cucumbers, as a city besieged. Unless Jehovah of hosts had left to us a remnant, shortly, as Sodom we had been, to Gomorrah we had been like. Hear the word of Jehovah, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear to the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. Why to me the abundance of your sacrifices, saith Jehovah? I have been satiated with burnt offerings of rams, and fat of fatlings, and blood of bullocks, and lambs, and he-goats I have not desired. When ye come in to appear before me, who hath required this of your hand, to trample my courts? Add not to bring in a vain present. Incense, an abomination it is to me, new moon and Sabbath, calling of convocation. Render not iniquity, and a restraint. Your new moons and your set seasons hath my soul hated. They have been upon me for a burden. I have been weary of bearing. And in your spreading forth your hands, I hide mine eyes from you. Also when ye increase prayer, I do not hear. Your hands of blood have been full. Wash ye, make ye pure. Turn aside the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do good. Seek judgment, make happy the oppressed. Judge the fatherless, strive for the widow. Come, I pray you, and we reason, saith Jehovah. If your sins are as scarlet, as snow they shall be white. If they are red as crimson, as wool they shall be. If ye are willing, and have hearkened, the good of the land ye consume. And if ye refuse, and have rebelled, by the sword ye are consumed, for the mouth of Jehovah hath spoken. How hath a faithful city become a harlot? I have filled it with judgment. Righteousness lodgeth in it. Now murderers. Thy silver hath become dross, thy drink polluted with water. Thy princes are apostates, and companions of thieves, every one loving a bribe and pursuing rewards. The fatherless they judge not, and the plea of the widow cometh not to them. Therefore the affirmation of the Lord Jehovah of hosts, the mighty one of Israel. Ah, I am eased of mine adversaries, and I am avenged of mine enemies. And I turn back my hand upon thee, and I refine as purity thy dross, and I turn aside all thy tin, and I give back thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as in the beginning. After this thou art called a city of righteousness, a faithful city. Zion in judgment is redeemed, and her captivity in righteousness. And the destruction of transgressors and sinners is together, and those forsaking Jehovah are consumed. For men are ashamed because of the oaks that ye have desired, and ye are confounded because of the gardens that ye have chosen. For ye are as an oak whose leaf is fading, and as a garden that hath no water. And the strong hath been for tow, and his work for a spark, and burned have both of them together, and there is none quenching. Chapter 2. The thing that Isaiah son of Amoz hath seen concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it hath come to pass in the latter end of the days, established is the mount of Jehovah's house, above the top of the mounts, and it hath been lifted up above the heights, and flowed unto it have all the nations. And gone have many peoples, and said, Come, and we go up unto the mount of Jehovah, unto the house of the God of Jacob, and he doth teach us of his ways, and we walk in his paths. For from Zion goeth forth a law, and a word of Jehovah from Jerusalem. And he hath judged between the nations, and hath given a decision to many peoples. And they have beat their swords to plowshares, and their spears to pruning hooks. Nation doth not lift up sword unto nation, nor do they learn any more war. O house of Jacob, come, and we walk in the light of Jehovah. For thou hast left thy people, the house of Jacob. For they have been filled from the east, and are sorcerers like the Philistines, and with the children of strangers strike hands. And its land is full of silver and gold, and there is no end to its treasures. And its land is full of horses, and there is no end to its chariots. And its land is full of idols. To the work of its hands it boweth itself, to that which its fingers have made. And the low boweth down, and the high is humbled, and thou acceptest them not. Enter into a rock, and be hidden in dust, because of the fear of Jehovah, and because of the honor of his excellency. The haughty eyes of man have been humbled, and bowed down hath been the loftiness of men, and set on high hath Jehovah alone been in that day. For a day is to Jehovah of hosts, for every proud and high one, and for every lifted up and low one, and for all the cedars of Lebanon, the high and the exalted ones, and for all oaks of Bashan, and for all the high mountains, and for all the exalted heights, and for every high tower, and for every fenced wall, and for all ships of Tarshish, and for all desirable pictures. And bowed down hath been the haughtiness of man, and humbled the loftiness of men, and set on high hath Jehovah alone been in that day, and the idols, they completely pass away. And men have entered into caverns of rocks, and into caves of dust, because of the fear of Jehovah, and because of the honor of his excellency, in his rising to terrify the earth. In that day doth man cast his idols of silver, and his idols of gold, that they have made for him to worship, to moles and to bats, to enter into cavities of the rocks, and into clefts of the high places, because of the fear of Jehovah, and because of the honor of his excellency, in his rising to terrify the earth. Cease for you from man, whose breath is in his nostrils, for in what is he esteemed? Chapter 3. For lo, the Lord Jehovah of hosts is turning aside from Jerusalem, and from Judah stay and staff, every stay of bread, and every stay of water, hero and man of war, judge and prophet, and diviner and elder, head of 50, and accepted of faces, and counselor, and the wise of artificers, and the intelligent of charmers. And I have made youths their heads, and sucklings rule over them. And the people hath exacted, man upon man, even a man on his neighbor, enlarged themselves do the youths against the aged, and the lightly esteemed against the honored. When one layeth hold on his brother, of the house of his father by the garment, Come, a ruler thou art to us, and this ruin is under thy hand. He lifteth up in that day, saying, I am not a binder up, and in my house is neither bread nor garment. Ye do not make me a ruler of the people. For stumbled hath Jerusalem, and Judah hath fallen, for their tongue and their doings are against Jehovah, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The appearance of their faces witnessed against them, and their sin, as Sodom they declared, they have not hidden. Woe to their soul, for they have done to themselves evil. Say ye to the righteous that it is good, because the fruit of their doings they eat. Woe to the wicked, evil, because the deed of his hand is done to him. My people, its exactors are sucklings, and women have ruled over it. My people, thy eulogists are causing to err, and the way of thy paths swallowed up. Jehovah hath stood up to plead, and he is standing to judge the peoples. Jehovah unto judgment doth enter with elders of his people and its heads. And ye have consumed the vineyard. Plunder of the poor is in your houses. What to you? Ye bruise my people, and the faces of the poor ye grind. An affirmation of the Lord Jehovah of hosts. And Jehovah saith, because that daughters of Zion have been haughty, and they walk stretching out the neck, and deceiving with the eyes, walking and mincing they go, and with their feet they make a tinkling. The Lord also hath scabbed the crown of the head of daughters of Zion, and Jehovah their simplicity exposeth. In that day doth the Lord turn aside the beauty of the tinkling ornaments, and of the embroidered works, and of the round tires like moons, of the drops, and the bracelets, and the mufflers, of the bonnets, and the ornaments of the legs, and of the bands, and of the perfume boxes, and the amulets, of the seals, and of the nose rings, of the costly apparel, and of the mantles, and of the coverings, and of the purses, of the mirrors, and of the linen garments, and of the hoods, and of the veils. And it hath been, instead of spice, is muck, and instead of a girdle, a rope, and instead of curled work, baldness, and instead of a stomacher, a girdle of sackcloth. For instead of glory thy men by sword do fall, and thy might in battle. And lamented and mourned have her openings. Yea, she hath been emptied, on the earth she sitteth. Chapter 4. And taken hold have 7 women on one man in that day, saying, our own bread we do eat, and our own raiment we put on. Only let thy name be called over us. Remove thou our reproach. In that day is the shoot of Jehovah for desire and for honor, and the fruit of the earth for excellence and for beauty to the escaped of Israel. And it hath been, he who is left in Zion, and he who is remaining in Jerusalem, holy is said of him, of every one who is written for life in Jerusalem. If the Lord hath washed away the filth of daughters of Zion, and the blood of Jerusalem purgeth from her midst, by the spirit of judgment, and by the spirit of burning, then hath Jehovah prepared over every fixed place of Mount Zion, and over her convocations, a cloud by day, and smoke, and the shining of a flaming fire by night, that over all honor a safeguard, and a covering may be, for a shadow by day from drought, and for a refuge, and for a hiding place from inundation and from rain. Chapter 5. Let me sing, I pray you, for my beloved, a song of my beloved as to his vineyard. My beloved hath a vineyard in a fruitful hill, and he fenceth it, and casteth out its stones, and planteth it with a choice vine, and buildeth a tower in its midst. And also a winepress hath hewn out in it, and he waiteth for the yielding of grapes, and it yieldeth bad ones. And now, O inhabitant of Jerusalem, and man of Judah, judge, I pray you, between me and my vineyard. What? To do still to my vineyard, that I have not done in it? Wherefore I waited to the yielding of grapes, and it yieldeth bad ones. And now pray, let me cause you to know that which I am doing to my vineyard, to turn aside its hedge, and it hath been for consumption, to break down its wall, and it hath been for a treading place. And I make it a waste, it is not pruned nor arranged, and gone up have briar and thorn. And on the thick clouds I lay a charge, from raining upon it rain. Because the vineyard of Jehovah of hosts is the house of Israel, and the man of Judah his pleasant plant. And he waiteth for judgment, and lo, oppression, for righteousness, and lo, a cry. Woe to those joining house to house, field to field they bring near, till there is no place, and ye have been settled by yourselves in the midst of the land. By the weapons of Jehovah of hosts do not many houses a desolation become, great and good without inhabitant? For 10 acres of vineyard do yield 1 bath, and an homer of seed yieldeth an ephah. Woe to those rising early in the morning, strong drink they pursue, tarrying in twilight, wine inflameth them. And harp, and psaltery, tabret, and pipe, and wine have been their banquets. And the work of Jehovah they behold not, yea, the work of his hands they have not seen. Therefore my people removed without knowledge, and its honorable ones are famished, and its multitude dried up of thirst. Therefore hath Sheol enlarged herself, and hath opened her mouth without limit. And gone down hath its honor, and its multitude, and its noise, and its exulting one, into her. And bowed down is the low, and humbled the high, and the eyes of the haughty become low. And Jehovah of hosts is high in judgment, and the holy God sanctified in righteousness. And fed have lambs according to their leading, and waste places of the fat ones do sojourners consume. Woe to those drawing out iniquity with cords of vanity, and as with thick ropes of the cart, sin, who are saying, Let him hurry, let him hasten his work that we may see, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw near and come, and we know. Woe to those saying to evil, Good, and to good, evil, putting darkness for light and light for darkness, putting bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to the wise in their own eyes, and before their own faces intelligent. Woe to the mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, declaring righteous the wicked for a bribe, and the righteousness of the righteous they turn aside from him. Therefore, as a tongue of fire devoureth stubble, and flaming hay falleth, their root is as muck, and their flower as dust goeth up, because they have rejected the law of Jehovah of hosts, and the saying of the Holy One of Israel despised. Therefore hath the anger of Jehovah burned among his people, and he stretcheth out his hand against it, and smiteth it, and the mountains tremble, and their carcass is as filth in the midst of the outplaces. With all this his anger did not turn back, and still his hand is stretched out. And he lifted up an ensign to nations afar off, and hissed to it from the end of the earth. And lo, with haste, swift it cometh. There is none weary, nor stumbling in it. It doth not slumber nor sleep. Nor opened hath been the girdle of its loins, nor drawn away the latchet of its sandals. Whose arrows are sharp, and all its bows bent. Hoofs of its horses as flint have been reckoned, and its wheels as a hurricane. Its roaring is as a lioness, it roareth like young lions, and it howleth, and seizeth prey, and carrieth away safely, and there is none delivering. And it howleth against it in that day as the howling of a sea, and it hath looked attentively to the land, and lo, darkness, distress, and light hath been darkened by its abundance. Chapter 6. In the year of the death of King Uzziah, I see the Lord, sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and his train is filling the temple. Seraphs are standing above it. 6 wings hath each one. With 2 each covereth its face, and with 2 each covereth its feet, and with 2 each flieth. And this one hath called unto that, and hath said, Holy, holy, holy is Jehovah of hosts. The fullness of all the earth is his glory. And the posts of the thresholds are moved by the voice of him who is calling, and the house is full of smoke. And I say, Woe to me, for I have been silent, for a man unclean of lips am I, and in midst of a people unclean of lips I am dwelling, because the King, Jehovah of hosts, hath my eyes seen. And flee unto me doth one of the seraphs, and in his hand a burning coal. With tongs he hath taken it from off the altar. And he striketh against my mouth, and saith, Lo, this hath stricken against thy lips, and turn aside is thine iniquity, and thy sin is covered. And I hear the voice of the Lord saying, Whom do I send? And who doth go for us? And I say, Here am I, send me. And he saith, Go, and thou hast said to this people, Hear ye, to hear, and ye do not understand, and see ye, to see, and ye do not know. Declare fat the heart of this people, and its ears declare heavy, and its eyes declare dazzled, lest it see with its eyes, and with its ears hear, and its heart consider, and it hath turned back, and hath health. And I say, Till when, O Lord? And he saith, Surely till cities have been wasted without inhabitant, and houses without man, and the ground be wasted, a desolation, and Jehovah hath put man far off, and great is the forsaken part in the heart of the land, and yet in it 1/10, and it hath turned, and hath been for a burning, as a teil tree, and as an oak, that in falling hath substance in them, the holy seed is its substance. Chapter 7. And it cometh to pass in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, gone up hath Rezin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, to Jerusalem to battle against it, and he is not able to fight against it. And it is declared to the house of David, saying, Aram hath been led towards Ephraim, and his heart and the heart of his people is moved, like the moving of trees of a forest by the presence of wind. And Jehovah saith unto Isaiah, Go forth, I pray thee, to meet Ahaz, thou and Shear-Jashub thy son, unto the end of the conduit of the upper pool, unto the highway of the fuller's field. And thou hast said unto him, Take heed and be quiet, fear not, and let not thy heart be timid, because of these 2 tails of smoking brands, for the fierceness of the anger of Rezin and Aram, and the son of Remaliah, because that Aram counselled against the evil Ephraim and the son of Remaliah, saying, We go up into Judah, and we vex it, and we rend it unto ourselves, and we cause a king to reign in its midst, the son of Tabiel. Thus said the Lord Jehovah, It doth not stand, nor shall it be. For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years is Ephraim broken from being a people, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If ye do not give credence, surely ye are not steadfast. And Jehovah addeth to speak unto Ahaz, saying, Ask for thee a sign from Jehovah thy God, make deep the request, or make it high upwards. And Ahaz saith, I do not ask nor try Jehovah. And he saith, Hear, I pray you, O house of David, is it a little thing for you to weary men, that ye weary also my God? Therefore the Lord himself giveth to you a sign. Lo, the virgin is conceiving, and is bringing forth a son, and hath called his name Emmanuel. Butter and honey he doth eat, when he knoweth to refuse evil, and to fix on good. For before the youth doth know to refuse evil, and to fix on good, forsaken is the land thou art vexed with, because of her 2 kings. Jehovah bringeth on thee and on thy people, and on the house of thy father, days that have not come, even from the day of the turning aside of Ephraim from Judah by the king of Ashur. And it hath come to pass in that day, Jehovah doth hiss for a fly that is in the extremity of the brooks of Egypt, and for a bee that is in the land of Ashur. And they have come, and rested all of them in the desolate valleys, and in holes of the rocks, and on all the thorns, and on all the commendable things. In that day doth the Lord shave, by a razor that is hired beyond the river, by the king of Ashur, the head, and the hair of the feet, yea, also the beard it consumeth. And it hath come to pass in that day, a man keepeth alive a heifer of the herd, and 2 of the flock. And it hath come to pass, from the abundance of the yielding of milk he eateth butter, for butter and honey doth every one eat, who is left in the heart of the land. And it hath come to pass in that day, every place where there are 1,000 vines, at 1,000 silverlings, is for briars and for thorns. With arrows and with bow he cometh thither, because all the land is briar and thorn. and all the hills that with a mattock are kept in order. Thither cometh not the fear of briar and thorn, and it hath been for the sending forth of ox, and for the treading of sheep. Chapter 8. And Jehovah saith unto me, Take to thee a great tablet, and write upon it with a graving tool of man, to haste spoil, in joy pray. And I caused faithful witnesses to testify to me, Uriah the priest, and Zechariah son of Jeberechiah. And I draw near unto the prophetess, and she conceiveth, and beareth a son. And Jehovah saith unto me, Call his name Maher Shalal Hashbaz. For before the youth doth know to cry, My father and my mother, one taketh away the wealth of Damascus, and the spoil of Samaria, before the king of Ashur. And Jehovah addeth to speak unto me again, saying, Because that this people hath refused the waters of Shiloah that go softly, and is rejoicing with Rezin and the son of Remaliah. Therefore, lo, the Lord is bringing up on them the waters of the river, the mighty and the great, the king of Ashur and all his glory. And it hath gone up over all its streams, and hath gone on over all its banks. And it hath passed on into Judah, it hath overflown and passed over, unto the neck it cometh. And the stretching out of its wings hath been the fullness of the breadth of thy land, O Emmanuel. Be friends, O nations, and be broken, and give ear, all ye far off ones of earth. Gird yourselves, and be broken. Gird yourselves, and be broken. Take counsel, and it is broken. Speak a word, and it doth not stand, because of Emmanuel. For thus hath Jehovah spoken unto me with strength of hand, and instructeth me against walking in the way of this people, saying, Ye do not say, A confederacy, to all to whom this people saith, A confederacy. And its fear ye do not fear, nor declare fearful. Jehovah of hosts, him ye do sanctify, and he is your fear, and he your dread. And he hath been for a sanctuary, and for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of falling, to the two houses of Israel, for a gin, and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them have stumbled and fallen, and been broken, and snared, and captured. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. And I have waited for Jehovah, who is hiding his face from the house of Jacob, and I have looked for him. Lo, I and the children whom Jehovah hath given to me are for signs and for wonders in Israel, from Jehovah of hosts, who is dwelling in Mount Zion. And when they say unto you, Seek unto those having familiar spirits, and unto wizards, who chatter and mutter, doth not a people seek unto its God? For the living unto the dead. To the law and to the testimony. If not, let them say after this manner, that there is no dawn to it. And it hath passed over into it, hardened and hungry, and it hath come to pass that it is hungry, and hath been wroth, and made light of its king, and of its God, and hath looked upwards. And unto the land it looketh attentively, and lo, adversity and darkness, dimness, distress, and thick darkness is driven away, but not the dimness for which she is in distress. The end of chapters 1 through 8 of the book of Isaiah, from the Young's Literal Translation. Recording by Mark Penfold.